Hey, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this edition of the 700 Club. We're thrilled that yesterday during our holiday we had many, many, many people who accepted the Lord.
Praise God.
A beautiful day. Terry's back. You have been to the fabulous Mar-a-Lago.
I have been. It is so spectacular. You know, we had a donor for Orphans Promise that called a year ago and said, I'd like you to come and do an event here, and we said we can't do that. You know, it's just, we don't have the people. She said, oh, I'm going to get it all underwritten for you and people who will help you do it. And so everything that was given at this event goes directly to Orphans Promise. But I had no idea what an amazing place this was. Oh, Pat, it was glorious. I mean, the service was wonderful.
Look at those
chandeliers.
I mean, glorious.
It was just a spectacular evening. Everyone had such a wonderful time. And huge screens in the ballroom. So we got to tell the Orphans Promise story, and people really loved being together.
Well, I'm sure they did.
You know, we had lots of CBN donors that also give to Orphans Promise that were there.
Here you are with the press.
You know, he was so kind to come down. His whole family was there, so they were having a family event upstairs. And at 10:30 at night, I mean, when most of us would be thinking about what time can I end the evening, he comes down just out of graciousness and never came into the ballroom or the event. We weren't the only people who were there that night. There was some kind of a wedding going on, and then, you know, it's a club, a country club, golf club, so there were people having dinner in another dining room. Just came down and greeted everybody, allowed people to take pictures with them. I mean, it only lasted about 4 minutes.
Yeah.
But he's just a very generous guy.
Well, I understand that our reporter, Jenna Browder, was there with her sister, and they had pictures, and of course the Daily Mail, I guess it was in England.
Yes. You know, we hear the president talk about fake news, and I just want you to know, I have seen it firsthand now. I am stunned because we were there for this event. I don't know him. I've never met him before in my life, but this picture was taken. There's David Brody on the left and Jenna Browder next to him. That's her twin sister, Allie. But here's what's on the side of this. Where is Melania? President Trump flashes a smile and gives another thumbs up while he poses next to a pair of blondes at Mar-a-Lago. You know where Melania was? She was upstairs with her family, where she ought to be.
Yeah.
You know?
And the blondes were our reporter and her
reporters.
sister.
And so this kind of
and
deliberate...
David Brody was there. They cut him out of the picture.
Yeah. Well, he was there, but he's, you know, he flies on Air Force One. They're both, Jenna and David are credible Washington, D.C. journalists.
Of course.
And so to just label Jenna a blonde and make it look like he was partying, he wasn't partying with anybody who was there. He came down to graciously say hello. And
well, this is
it was
British
disturbing.
journalism. This is British journalism.
It's
and it
fake news.
It's fake, yeah, it's bad, but it was the Daily Mail in England that did
I just can't imagine the pressure of a family having to contend with that every single day.
What you don't do is answer it. You just ride with it. But, of course, Trump hits back. You hit him, he's going to hit you right.
Yeah. Well, I'm beginning to understand that in a more definitive way.
That place, you know, Mar is sea and Lago is lake, and the thing runs from the sea
one side
to the lake.
To the other, right, yeah.
But it was built by Marjorie Merriweather Post, who had an enormous amount of money, and the federal government received it from her estate, and they couldn't afford to keep it up.
I'm so glad that someone like Donald Trump, who had enough wherewithal to buy it and restore it, did, because it's so magnificent, you just can't imagine that it would have been allowed to go to ruin.
What a place to entertain foreign leaders. You bring them down there, they have the sun of Florida, you can play golf, and you can look at the sea, and oh, it's beautiful. But anyhow, congratulations.
Thank you. It was just a joy to be with so many of our friends.
It was a very successful fundraiser.
Very successful fundraisers for Orphans Promise. We're really thrilled. We're starting off the year with a good promise.
We're all delighted.
Thank you.
Well, in other news, lawmakers are looking to find ways to prevent more mass shootings after last week's deadly attack at a Florida high school. John Jessup has this.
That's right, Pat. President Trump has weighed in, offering his support of improving the country's background checks for gun purchases. And there's a proposed bill to penalize federal agencies that fail to provide the necessary information on people who want to buy guns. Here's Charlene Aaron.
Following last week's mass shooting that left 17 dead and many wounded, Florida students are demanding an end to gun violence, calling for a nationwide walkout in March next month.
It's kind of a national problem at this point. You know, there's been too many so quickly right in a row, and to me it's important to show support.
Everyone is impacted. Everyone knows someone that's connected. It'll never be the same for anyone.
While discussions are ongoing and revisions are being considered, the president is supportive of efforts to improve the federal background check system, says a statement from the White House. White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders said the president spoke with Republican Senator John Cornyn of Texas Friday about a bipartisan bill that would improve federal compliance with criminal background check legislation. More political and legislative solutions will be tried, but many laws and procedures are already on the books, but simply aren't followed. As in the case of the Texas church shooting late last year that left 25 people dead. That gunman, Devin Patrick Kelly, had received a bad conduct discharge from the Air Force for assaulting his wife and child. In many instances of dishonorable discharge, the individual is not allowed to own guns. But the Air Force didn't put his conviction into a federal database, and that could have stopped him from buying a gun. And many warning signs this time around were also ignored. According to ABC News, a tip was reported to the FBI on January 5th that Nicholas Cruz might be planning a school shooting, but it was not passed along to the Miami field office to be investigated. Police also say posts discovered on Cruz's social media accounts are said to be very, very disturbing. Students had also reported Cruz many times for his behavior. Meanwhile, President Trump is scheduled to meet with high school students Wednesday for a listening session, followed by talks with state and local officials on school safety. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Thanks, Charlene. Pat, it is amazing that many of those warning signs went unchecked.
The FBI fell down terribly, and others have done the same thing. But, you know, as I say, they've got to have a classification of these calls. And they say, all right, when a call comes in, this is classification number 5, this is 4, 3, 2, 1, or whatever. And the ones that are 5 go to the top of the line and are completely analyzed. But we've got to have some sort of a law that says we arrest people on the threat of that. We really can't arrest them until after they've done the act. Yeah. So that's one of the things. The other thing is, ladies and gentlemen, I am a gun owner. I have hunted. I have shot skeet. I've gotten awards when I was in the Marine Corps for shooting. I've got no opposition whatsoever to shooting. But for heaven's sakes, I don't think that the general population needs to have automatic weapons. It just doesn't have to have Russian-built or Chinese-built machine guns. It just doesn't. I mean, it's one thing to defend yourself with a pistol or a shotgun to hunt with, something else to have. And I think we can ban those things without too much trouble. And they have what they call bump stock that was, you hit it, and it would go automatic. And I mean, we can stop that. And then there has to be some medical background check. If somebody is seeing a psychiatrist, is on medication, he or she needs to be prohibited from being turned loose to the general population. It's just got to be, you know, it's sensible. But as far as the right of the people to keep and bear arms, the Second Amendment, and we're all for it. John?
Pat, in political news, President Trump is endorsing Mitt Romney in Utah's Senate race. Some see it as another sign the two are burying the hatchet after tense moments in their past relationship. Romney announced last week he would run to replace retiring Republican Orrin Hatch. And Monday night, Trump tweeted, "He will make a great senator and worthy successor to Orrin Hatch and has my full support and endorsement." Romney quickly tweeted his thanks and said late last week he and the president had talked by phone 2 or 3 times in recent months, maintaining, Pat, that he and President Trump had a cordial and respectful relationship.
That was after Romney called him a two-bit phony. But I'm glad they buried the hatchet. The thing that's being pointed out about Romney, though, when he was running for president, he said the Russians are our major threat. And he was downplayed by Obama. The Cold War is over, don't you believe it? And now, isn't it amazing that Nadler and Schiff and those Democrats are coming out on this, anti-Russian kick? And it looks like Romney is getting rehabbed in terms of his prescience in what he warned. But, the Democrats made more fun of him. The Cold War is over, George. What are you talking about? They're not our threat. Well, maybe. John?
Well, Pat, President Trump's tax cut has gained a great deal of public support in the last few months. 51% of Americans now approve of the tax law, compared to 37% in December when the bill was passed. Those numbers come from a New York Times poll by SurveyMonkey. The Times points out other recent polls have also shown similar upswings for the law. And Pat, as you well know, that could be good news for Republicans in this fall's midterm elections.
Well, the Democrats demagogued that law. Sooner or later, I was a Democrat, My father was a Democrat. And the Democrats used to stand for something, and they worked for the good of America. And we were all together. And my father and his associates prayed with the Republican senators in the Senate, and there was a great deal of harmony. Now it's fight Trump. Let's impeach Trump. Whatever we can do, let's oppose him. Whatever he wants to do, we're going to fight. It doesn't matter whether it's good for America or not. This kind of divisiveness is corrosive to our society. It's time that people begin to work for the good of this country, not for the good of party. And this party spirit is very bad. So, and in any event, I think that coming up, we're going to have another election, but I think that this tax law is going to help the economy grows, and the populace does not turn out a sitting president if the economy is booming and they have got jobs and they have a fat paycheck. So as the economy gets better, Trump's fortunes will continue to rise.